tonight's forum featuring two candidates for one position on the Whitman Board of Selectmen. Candidates that are on the ballot are Dan Salvucci, he's a candidate for re-election, and candidate for election and Whitman Finance Committee member Rosemary Connolly. I'm Kevin Tocci, and I'll serve as your moderator. WHCA's Executive Director, Eric Dresser, will be timekeeper for tonight's forum. Now, our forum is fairly simple, and this is what we normally do. Opening statements, 2 minutes, candidates' questions and answers, that period. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer a question that's posed to them. They'll have 90 seconds to be able to do that. Then we'll have the WHCA speed round. This is where candidates are challenged to either answer yes or no, 1 to 2 sentences of multiple choice. It's usually a pretty tough endeavor when folks want to really give you a full answer. So we'll see how the candidates do this evening. And then we have the closing statements, which is also 2 minutes. Now, we already drew names as to who will go first, and we use the trusty WHCA cup, and Rosemary Connolly will start. You have 2 minutes, Rosemary.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Dan, for coming tonight. And thank you, staff at our local cable. My name is Rosemary Connolly, and I am running for selectman. I have served on your finance committee. This will be my second term. During that time, I used skills that I have had in the workforce, used as a staff auditor to review, excuse me, I have my notes here, to go over financial processes and to review, learn financial and operational information, evaluate internal controls, analyze financial records and variance, observe physical inventory and processes, and prepare to present my recommendations on the Finance Committee. These are strengths that I can bring to the selectman position as we plan forward in our strategic plan. We would commonly use strategic planning in staff auditing. A very simple strategic plan is called a SWOT analysis, which is a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. I believe that over the last 4 years, I've compounded a lot of information that can help me to govern in a very effective way, identifying where we could better use state aid, and identifying where we have weaknesses that could cause threat. A good example is the $500,000 lawsuit we had recently due to not having a good human resource within our town and community. Thank you.
And if there's anything that you did not have a chance to say in your opening statement, that's when you can use your 2 minutes at the close of our forum today.
Thank you.
Up next with his opening statement is Mr. Dan Salvucci. Dan, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and Rosemary, welcome. Just to let you know, if you don't know who I am, my name is Dan Salvucci. I've lived in Whitman since 1977, where I brought up my family. I had a number of my children graduated out of Whitman-Hanson and went out of South Trovo Tech. But I started being on the Finance Committee in the middle 90s. I was on that for a while, and then I became chairman. I was on chairman for about 5 years until I wanted to increase what I could do for the town. So I ran for selectman, and I won. And right now, I'm asking your vote for my 7th term. Now, I've given 18 years as a member of the Board of Selectmen and 8 years as Finance Committee. I know the budget of this town very well, and I have done everything I can and will continue to do everything I can to improve this town for our citizens. Because I'm a selectman, I sit on many boards and committees other than just the Board of Selectmen. Also, I had a meeting today with Joint Transportation, where that's Old Connolly Planning Council, which represents towns from as far north as, we'll say, Stoughton, as far south as Plymouth, and the towns in between. And we deal with all transportation issues. I'm vice chairman of that board. I have been on that board for like 7 years now. Also on the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, I am a signatory, and I represent all towns in the Old Colony region that have a greater population of 14,000 people. Due to the fact that I'm on these boards, is I can get things done for the town of Whitman to make things better. Many of the projects that I've pushed when the police and fire chief came before the board, where we had issues, was like 18 and 14 and 18 and 27, and those have been corrected, and it's almost done. But as I say, I'm asking for your vote on the 15th. We have early voting, so I'm asking for your vote for re-election, and I will continue to do my best for you.
Again, you have 2 minutes at the end,
Yeah.
and that's where you'll have your opportunity if there's something that you did not have a chance to expand upon. So we'll get to the question and answer round, and I will let you know that these questions were created jointly between WHCA and the Whitman Express. So we worked together to put the questions together in a fashion as to some of the things that are happening in this community. The first question: what makes an ideal select person? And what do you bring to the board that is essential, not only as a team player, but running town government? Dan, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm retired from Star Market. I was a manager. I worked for them for 43 years. I was a manager and a warehouse supervisor. I know how to deal with people. I know how to deal with budgets. I'm also a motivated person who looks at projects and will get those projects done. And I enjoy working for the town, and I enjoy getting whatever I can to make our town of Whitman a lot better than what it is.
Rosemary, same question.
Could you repeat it again?
I certainly can. What makes an ideal select person? What do you bring to the Board of Selectmen? And how can you be a team player and also be able to run the town government?
I think
I'm sorry, it's a stutter.
I think what makes an ideal select person is the ability to serve, the ability to listen closely to your constituents and to deliver. I believe that I can do so. I serve my family. I serve my home. I have served my community. I am a Gold Star Girl Scout. I have awards for service in Girl Scouts as an adult, in doubling enrollment in the last town I was in. I also believe that looking out for your community and risks that might affect them is something that a selectman should be doing. Additionally, I would also be the only female and person with children in our school district, which is our largest budget and a big part of the most staff that we have. I would be the only person who has children and understands and is in contact with families on a regular basis.
Okay. The town did a community survey a couple of years ago. Do you feel that town officials have implemented the residents' priorities, or have they overlooked the process? Rosemary, you have 90 seconds.
I believe they've overlooked the process. I believe that we had the finances to implement that, but we did not handle our Chapter 70 issues. We diverted, people are admitting to knowing, diverted over $4.5 million into paying for another community's bills, as we ignored what our community was saying in that survey.
Mr. Salvucci, same question.
Okay. I think that we are doing the best we can with what we have. I understand Rosemary was saying that, yes, there was a mistake as far as the school budget was concerned with Whitman-Hanson because of the statutory method, the state method, which they weren't following. But that is water over the dam. I mean, we need to go forward. And I think right now, once we get through this budget season and we continue to bring in businesses in our town and promote businesses in our town, bring in revenues, we can get things that need to be accomplished.
Okay. Next question. If you will, provide an assessment of the town's fiscal 2022 budget. Now, is the town on its way to better financial times, or do you see potential issues ahead? Dan,
Okay.
you have 90 seconds.
Thank you very much. Well, we're going to get through this year. Next year, will we need an override? I don't know. It's a possibility. I think what we need to do is see what our revenues are coming in, look at the budgets closely, see what the town departments need, and go forward. I mean, I don't want to say we're going to go for an override in next year's physical budget. We're not doing one this year, but next year, we don't know. You don't know until you see the numbers.
Rosemary, same question.
There is data that tells you when you should need an override. It is not something you willy-nilly decide. And one piece of data that you would use is, are you funding your primary budget with non-sustainable resources? This year, we used $700,000 from the school budget to handle the two towns of one-time money in the ESSER funds to handle the two towns' assessment. That is risky. So we're making a lot of financially risky moves to stave off overrides. Financially, we should be doing an override. We have to be careful not to be penny-wise and pound foolish. The longer you push off an override, the more expensive things get, the larger the override grows. This is something that was very clearly stated by Madden during the Madden report. So if we are smart, we will look to not continue to push off overrides. It becomes expensive in the longer arc of things.
Okay. My follow-up to that is there a solution in regards to the town being able to go to town meeting without having issues or concerns about having enough money under the levy limit and being able to properly fund the town's annual assessment to the school district? Rosemary, you have 90 seconds.
When I originally got on Finance Committee, within a week after reviewing the numbers, I called the head of the finance and I said to Rick Anderson, we have to stop right now and do everything at 2.5% as we review our spending. Rick thought that was funny because he didn't understand my background. Later, we paid a lot of money to have somebody else tell us pretty much the same thing. I believe that we need to review how we spend and do comparisons on how other towns are spending and determine which element isn't working. Are we paying enough in taxes to meet needs for services? Are we overpaying in services? And we should use that town survey to guide us. The community has spoken. It says what it wants. I believe that we did pay enough taxes to handle it. But $4.5 million spent outside of the community, outside to service people that did not pay these taxes, affected how we can do this. Now, if we're going to say water under the bridge, then we need to recognize that tax amount still needs to, there's a vacuum within our levy right now, and it's due to that. So there are a lot of issues that we have to address.
Dan, same question.
All right. Okay. I'm saying water under the bridge. It was something the town meeting voted to accept so that we didn't cripple the town of Hanson. It was the school committee's fault for not recognizing that, but the fact is we tried to help a town that's with us for a regional agreement. And you have a lot of people that live in Hanson that are quite upset with us for even considering that we should be paying the full amount. But the fact is, no. We went by the statutory method. We helped our adjoining regional town, not to totally cripple them, last year, and we suggested it. Town meeting agreed. If town meeting said no, it wasn't going to happen, but they said yes. And I always live by being a selectman. Town meeting says, I do. It's that simple.
Next question, and that is, it will stay on the same topic of the schools. 2 years ago, there was a conversation, there was even a committee formed in the town of Hanson about possibly deregionalizing. Knowing that the town is going to be going for an override in just a little over a week, what are your concerns about the town actually considering having its own school district and separating from the regional district? Dan, you have 90 seconds.
I know Hanson's looking into that. I think that once they get into that, they're going to realize that there's no way they can afford that. I mean, I don't know if they want to totally deregionalize the school system K through 12, or do you want to go back to the old way? K through 8 was Whitman and Hanson, and then the high school was regionalized. I can remember when they totally regionalized K through 12, and it was a benefit to both towns doing that. I think Hanson's going to find out what they want to do is going to be, it won't be as cost efficient as they think. Silver Lake went through the same issue with Pembroke. It took Pembroke, I think, 5 years before it finally got out of the region, but they were the larger town. And they finally got out, but they had built all their own schools before they deregionalized. So I don't see Hanson doing this, following through on it, when they finally find out what the cost is going to be to their town.
Rosemary, same question.
Thank you. Suzanne Bump's office did a survey. It's an analysis of regional schools and costs. Within that analysis is a cost of scale numbers that DESE will use to allow for a deregionalization. I would recommend, before Hanson goes and spends too much money, or even Whitman, that they look at those numbers. They would find that they may not even be allowed to be deregionalized. Neither one will. They will not allow anything that would harm children or finances or how we can afford education. Both towns are both funding our local community schools in the lowest per capita spending in Plymouth County. So we're looking at two schools that won't have enough cost of scale amounts, that have shown a lack of commitment of funding education. I believe DESE would find that a serious risk for children.
Okay. Let's talk capital projects. Whitman is in line to build a new middle school. What is your understanding as to the percentage that the Mass School Building Authority will fund the project compared to what the town will need to invest? And do you think that Whitman residents can afford such an endeavor? Rosemary, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I think sometimes things come down to what we can't afford. And we really can't afford not having a safe building for children. The Whitman Middle School was chosen because it met standards. We were chosen above pretty much every other town in Massachusetts because this building needs to be rebuilt. I don't know if we would have much of a choice. As far as funding, we roll debt. Essentially, when one is relieved, we put a new debt on. We'll be looking at some debt rolling over, the high school, other debts over the years, and we just replace that debt into that. So we will find a way to fund it and be thoughtful of how the community can afford that. Thank you.
Same question, Dan.
Yes. Well, first of all, the committee that's formed is, the state's going to come in and look and see whether it needs to be rehabbed or rebuilt, knocked down and rebuilt. We may not have to rebuild a brand new middle school, because we did renovations on it 15, 20 years ago when we added to it, when we closed other schools. They may just say that we need to do some renovations, almost something like what Hanson did to their elementary school. So that being said, we'll have to wait and see what it says, but eventually something needs to be done with that middle school. And as I said, as Rosemary said, as some loans end, other loans begin. So right now it's a good time to be borrowing because of the low rates, but the fact is, do we need to build a brand new one, or do we need to renovate what we have?
All right, staying with capital projects, I know it's been something that has been attempted a number of times in this community to find a way to either repurpose, rehab, even move the DPW building. Can this community financially support a second capital project like the DPW? Dan, you have 90 seconds.
That is on my top of my agenda as one of the items. We looked at all the town buildings and what needed to be done, and the DPW was at the top of the list, but not the very top. It ended up being the police station was needed first because what we had here, the state was ready to condemn it. So we had to build a new police station. That came to the top. But that DPW originally, when we looked at it, it was going to be very expensive, $9 million, which was ridiculous. They weren't going to spend that much. But we're looking at it today of rehabbing the back building and maybe redoing the front building and dropping that to maybe a $2 million project, having our DPW workers do a lot of the groundwork. It needs to be done. That green building in front is the original out of the 50s. You could take a hammer and break through the cement wall if you had to. We're losing employees that work in the maintenance department because they're crawling under trucks on oily floors because we have no lift to lift up the trucks. And they don't want to work in that type of environment. We need a new DPW building. No ands. We need it. We have to get that done, and that's one of my priorities.
Rosemary, same question. Can this town afford a second capital project like a new DPW building?
I think what happens with the DPW building or any capital building is part of the matrix. It has a formula that ends up leaving it off. The formula is essentially how much state aid we receive to rebuild. How many people are utilizing this building is another consideration, I believe. And one of the issues is this building is, although it handles the trucks and the equipment we need, the people who are, just a small amount of people are generally in that building. But the building is not a building even those people should be working in. It is condemnable, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, walking in. It is not conducive to a good work environment. As Dan, this is where Dan and I are eye to eye on. I do hope that we as a community can begin to encourage our state reps and others to look for outside funding so that this will begin to make it onto the matrix. Just some state funding or a percentage will push it forward on the matrix. And I do think we should be aggressively doing that, no matter. And I'm sure Dan agrees with that as well.
Okay. Let's talk personnel. Fire Chief Tim Greno is retiring in July. What qualities would you like to see when picking the next fire chief? Now, I know that there's a civil service process, the way it goes. But as individuals who are going to be sitting on the board and discussing, talking, interviewing the candidates, I want to get your take on it. Rosemary, you have 90 seconds.
I will miss Tim. I was the liaison to the fire department, and Tim was always getting right back to me and had a great personality, easy to talk to, had a lot of great information. He will be missed. Personalities, I would more look at a resume. These are big shoes to fill, and we'll be needing somebody with Tim's qualities and abilities to fill them. So I would be looking towards towards somebody who would work well with staff. I would be looking for somebody who understands grant writing. That is a big job of your chief, that would aggressively go after extra funding and work well with the community. Tim did a great job at ensuring that our senior community was cared for. I was always looking out for them. I was always impressed with that. So those are some of the qualities.
Okay. Same question, Mr. Salvucci.
Okay, where we have to take off the civil service list, right? We have a couple of candidates that passed it, and you got the top of the list and the second and the third, and if you're going to jump from the first to the second, you have to have a very good reason. Right? Most of the ones that are qualified have the qualities that Rosemary was talking about. They can work well with people. They can get the job done. They're very knowledgeable. And I believe that whoever is picked, and I also believe in promoting within. Right? They'll nail the town, and I think that they'll do a good job. But as I say, basically our hands are basically tied. We need to pick from the list. And we usually go from the top of the list, unless there is some really specific reason why we wouldn't choose that employee.
Okay. A new town administrator was hired earlier this year, Lincoln Heineman. There's currently a void at assistant town administrator. What skill sets should that person possess, and should their talents be equaled financially? Dan, you have 90 seconds.
So you're talking about what we need for assistant?
Assistant town administrator. What would you like to see qualities in that individual?
Right. What we need in an assistant town administrator is somebody that is very knowledgeable in basically running a town. It's that simple. I mean, as far as grant writing and specific things like that, a lot of the employees know how to do that. As far as our previous assistant town administrator, she would do that. But someone that works well with people, that can take over the responsibility as the town administrator, work well with budgets to help out Lincoln in working with the budget. He's a numbers guy, but you always need help. And I think someone that would work well with Lincoln and have qualities that maybe Lincoln may not have, and Lincoln has qualities that this assistant may not have, they'll work well together, teach each other, and we'll have a great combination of a town administrator and assistant town administrator.
Rosemary, what would you like to see in the next assistant town administrator?
Thank you. I believe this has been a big topic in Finance Committee. Lincoln had some people that he thought would be great for the job. They were people who were very proficient grant writers. Grants are a big part of our funding and can really help us to achieve healthy finances. So if he is aware of somebody who might cost a little bit more, we need to pay a little bit more, but we know can deliver on grants and other things, or be supportive of other staff and their grants, I would be looking towards that. Lincoln, I'm sure, is aware of where his weaknesses are and his strengths are, and it is his assistant primarily, and he has municipal experience in Hanover.
Okay. We'll move on to economic development. The town has always struggled with generating enough tax revenue. Do you believe more can be done regarding economic development? What, if anything, should Whitman do or offer to attract more businesses?
First.
I think Rosemary is first.
Was I first this time? Thank you. I believe, are we looking for just economic development or revenue recognition?
Whatever you have for an
Okay.
idea that could help generate more revenue and more businesses.
I'm really excited about something going on the ballot this year. It's in the levy, and you recognize this. It's to collect the new growth. There is something going on the ballot that ensures that we collect all the new growth in a separate account, so that we don't leave anything on the table each year, and that can really stabilize finances. And I was really impressed with Lincoln's decision to implement such a thing. I also believe that we could do activities in town, more activities, such as maybe first night again, the cookie night that we did. That was something that created a lot of excitement in our community. We checking in on businesses. We don't have any Better Business Bureau or anything in town for helping and supporting businesses, helping them navigate town hall, a place that they can meet, that sort of thing, so that we can hear voices from local community businesses.
Okay.
Same question, Dan.
Okay. First of all, we need to bring in business in town, and one of the main ways we do that is, as far as the tax rate goes, we do a factor of 1. Right? We do not charge businesses more than the homeowner. Why? Because we have very limited business. If you notice in the center of town, you got 2 buildings going on. The old bank was knocked down, and that'll be storefront businesses. Both sides have been redone. On the other side, going up on South Ave, across from the bank, you'll see another structure going up. That was an open lot. And you're going to see on the opposite side, next to where Annie's Crisiters was, and the white building that was there that's been vacant, that will become a development too, with businesses on the bottom and probably apartments on top. You have buildings going on around town as far as housing is concerned. And a lot of people are saying, well, we have too many houses going on in town, too much building. But those bring in revenue. And a lot of structures bring in a lot more revenue than just plain land. A lot of people like Whitman. They moved to Whitman. Our housing development has grown over the years because we've had water and sewer hookups, right? And we have a lot of good things for what people are looking for in a community. We have new businesses going all the time in town, and they're staying. So I think just by developing businesses, we can bring more money in.
Okay. We'll go back to you, Dan. Where does the town stand regarding a strategic plan, and where does it rank amongst Whitman's top issues? You have 90 seconds.
Strategic plan. Well, the strategic plan is what people are looking for is education, safety as far as police and fire, all at the top of the list. We need to make sure that those are held, and we need to continue funding those areas. And I think the way we can do that is, again, promoting business to bring in revenues to get what the people in Whitman need. And it takes money to get that done.
Same question, Rosemary. Where does the town stand regarding a strategic plan, and where does it rank amongst Whitman's top issues?
I think anybody who's run a business or had to be a leader in any circumstance understands that a strategic plan is necessary for a path forward. You're wandering in the dark without a strategic plan. During my time as a staff auditor, one of the first things we would look at when we walked in is to do just a simple strategic plan, which is a SWOT analysis. I brought this up earlier on when I first got on finance. It's simply identifying your strengths, your weaknesses, those opportunities, and any sort of risks that might inhibit a path forward. And then you implement what the community wants. A strategic plan should not be something that is so complicated, and it should not have taken so long to put together. The last time we had a town plan was before Dan was a selectman. It should be every 5 years that you implement and review these things. As your demographics change, you need to change those things to meet your demographics. You need to meet your finances and your services to the people who live there. To not understand that, review that, and go forward is not responsible.
COVID-19 is something I don't think any of us thought we would see in our lifetime, where it literally shut down our lives almost to a grinding halt. But now as we're starting to come along and folks are getting vaccinated, there seems to be a push to get back to life. We, as Americans, we are impatient. I think folks are impatient when they have to wait too long. So I ask you this: if you had a voice in opening the town back up post-COVID, what would you be in favor of? Opening up gradually or lift restrictions immediately? Rosemary, you have 90 seconds.
I need to start by saying it was a disappointment that they did not allow our local fire department to give shots. I believe that our whole community, or a large swath of our community, would already be vaccinated. We have a very efficient local fire department, and that has caused the slowing of people getting it. They know their community. They know who needs it, who's most vulnerable. And I believe that we need to ensure that our community is safe as we open up, as fast as it is possible with the science available. But I do believe it was a misstep not to continue with local distribution of vaccines.
Thank you. Same question. You have 90 seconds, Mr. Salvucci.
Thank you. If it was, I'd love to open town hall today, but unfortunately, we can't. What we're doing, the Board of Selectmen is listening to the Board of Health and taking their recommendations, and we're working together to see exactly when it would be safe, not only for the town employees that work in this building or in the library or in the senior center, and the DPW, but for the employees and the people that go there. It's a tough decision to make, but we're looking at possibly waiting till when town meeting is over, right in June, another 4 weeks, to see exactly where we stand. Originally, we wanted to make sure we were three weeks in the green to know that we were safe. Now we're looking at maybe stable in the yellow, but have a 50% percentage of 50% of our town residents vaccinated. And we're getting there. We're almost there now. So I am hopeful that by town meeting, we should be opening town hall, opening the library, and things like that. Right now, you can come into town hall, make a phone call, and they would meet you. They would allow you in, and you do business, and then they escort you out. So,
Okay. This will be the final question of our question and answer period. And my question to you would be, it's impossible to touch every issue that affects this particular community. Maybe there's a particular issue we did not talk about. You have 90 seconds right now to talk about that particular item. Dan, you have 90 seconds.
Just to let you know, being a selectman has its good points and its bad points. Being a selectman doesn't mean that you come here twice a month and sit down and make decisions. You're working outside the building and 24/7 getting phone calls and whatever. It's a lot more than what you may think it is. But that being said, it's very rewarding when you can see as the town grows and what we're doing, that it needs to get done. I'm hoping in the future, like we'll be having movies in the park. We're going to start that, right? That's something that was brought up. That's opening town hall, opening the town. I think the townspeople are waiting for that. And I think that's where we need to head right now, is to get back to the normal life of Whitman.
Rosemary, same opportunity. You have 90 seconds.
The question again?
The question is that if there was a particular, we've touched upon a lot of different topics during this forum, but I'm sure that there's something that we did not talk about that maybe you might want to use 90 seconds to at least share with the voters of Whitman.
Yes. I would talk about transparency and openness. I don't believe that there's been enough transparency. I believe that we should present all options to voters, not sell. We hear that a lot if you watch meetings, both finance and selectmen. We hear the word sell. The citizens of Whitman that come in to vote are adults. I believe that we should give all options and accurate information. An example would be at town meeting last year. They got up and they said, Hanson can't afford something. It would burden Hanson. When looking at data, the data shows that it is a larger burden for Whitman taxpayers to have paid that. Whitman taxpayers pay 17% of their income towards the levy. Hanson taxpayers pay about 14.5 or 17.5 for Whitman. Hanson pay about 14.5. It was a larger burden for Whitman taxpayers to have burdened even the $500,000 last year. But they only agreed to $500,000 to bridge 1 year. The $4 million was done without their knowledge and without their knowing. Well, it was known in town hall. That's the issue here, that it was known in the back rooms and nobody said and nobody protected the Whitman taxpayers. Transparency is vital. This is their choice, their money.
We will now cruise into the WHCA speed round. Follow the directions closely. As I stated at the opening of this particular forum, there's a couple of ways to answer it. And you'll hear it either in the question or I will tell you what it is, okay? It's either multiple choice, yes or no, or I will allot you 1 to 2 sentences. Not a run-on sentence, 1 to 2 sentences. Again, this is about speed and thinking on the balls of your feet. We'll start with you, Rosemary. And you'll get a chance to answer this, Dan.
Okay, yeah.
For or against the school assessment funding method change?
Too statutory? Is this what you're saying?
For or against the school assessment funding method change that we just had?
I am for following the law.
Okay. Start with you, Dan. Important issue most people overlook. Just what is the issue? Just one an important issue in town that most people overlook.
I'd say streets and roads.
I would say implementation of state aid.
Okay. Would you support a bylaw preventing town officials from being on social media? The answer is yes or no. Rosemary.
No.
Repeat that again?
Would you support a bylaw preventing town officials from being on social media?
No.
Okay. Favorite spot to visit in town, location or restaurant? Dan.
Town Park.
Millie's.
Okay. Last question of our lightning round, and we'll go right into closing comments. Yes. How many town meetings have you attended while living in town? Rosemary.
Every single one while living in town, I
Can you
believe.
quantify that with a number?
Okay. No.
Okay. Okay. I had asked.
Every single one.
44.
Is it accurate?
Huh?
I
No.
just-
I live in, no,
It's a
I've been in
guesstimate.
town for 44 years.
Okay.
I went to every town meeting.
Okay, now is time for closing statements. We will reverse the order. So Dan, you have 2 minutes to provide your closing statement.
Thank you. As I say, we have early voting, and it starts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, town hall hours, Friday no, Saturday the election day. I am asking for your vote to nominate me for another term. It'll be my 7th term. I do a lot for the town. I enjoy working for the town. I'm on a lot of boards and committees. I do what I can to help out our town and its needs. As I say, I've been in the town for 44 years. I raised my kids in the town. And they're all out of town now. One used to live in town. They moved to Hanson. But as I say, I'm asking for your vote, and I'm hoping that what I've done in the past 6 terms, and also 8 years on the Finance Committee, you approve of what I've accomplished and my way of thinking. And I'm just asking for your vote, and I would appreciate it if you would vote for me. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Salvucci. Time for your closing statement, Rosemary. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and thank you for watching tonight. Thank you, Dan, for coming, and everyone else for pulling this together. My closing statement would be, I'm asking you for your vote. I am a new voice. It is fresh eyes on the committee. Fresh eyes allow for new ways of thinking. Handling problems in the old ways sometimes gets us into a rut, and we lose sight of a larger picture. I am a big picture person. I have background in analyzing risk and handling issues. Immediately on Finance Committee, within the first year, I identified that we had weaknesses in our Chapter 70 and Chapter 90 money. Those are school funding and road repair, monies coming in for road repairs. I would like to handle those issues and ensure that your state aid is maximized. This will help reduce your burden of your home and your household. I want to remind people that longevity does not equate to proficiency. Proficiency is something different. Action is needed now more than ever. We are looking at an override. We need to review and come up with a plan, a strategic plan, something that should have been done many, many times over the past 15 years and hasn't. I would like to take this time to really review and get the things that need to be done. We have to handle our town issues, our town finances, and services for all demographics. My mother was a teacher for 30 years within the school system. I am well aware of the needs and the situations that have happened because of our underfunding of our local education, and I'd like to address those as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's forum featured Whitman candidates for one position on the Whitman Selectmen, Board of Selectmen. We want to thank the candidates, Dan Salvucci, Rosemary, Connolly, for participating and helping to better inform the residents before they vote on Saturday, May 15th. Remember, the polls will be open at Whitman Town Hall. If you're unsure as to your voting status, contact the Whitman Town Clerk's office for details. Polling hours for Paul Watson, Eric Dresser, Ryan Tully, and the rest of the WHCA production team. I'm Kevin Tocci. Have a great day.
Thanks.